Last summer, we got our first look at Starfield, and I'll be honest, I was not impressed. Sure, the concepts of the game sounded cool, but it didn't look good. I was not a fan of the graphics, the lack of color palette, and the frame rate drops were killing me. The combat itself didn't look great either. Despite all this, I always maintain some intrigue because 1, we don't have many space games like this, and 2, it's being made by Bethesda. I am so down for a space game with the vibe of both Skyrim and Fallout. So I decided to be patient and wait until they show more. They finally did at the Xbox Showcase, where Bethesda gave a 45-minute in-depth presentation. We saw a lot more gameplay, and we learned a lot more about flying, combat, exploring the planets, a little bit more about the story, and some of the things you'll do in the game. We saw a lot more in terms of menus for character and ship creation and customization. We saw, again, more planets, and we listened to a bunch of developers teach us more about this ambitious game. This presentation truly changed the narrative for not just me, but for every gamer interested in this game. Again, this game looks very ambitious, and personally, I think it does have the potential to be the game of this generation. I can't stress just how important Starfield is for not only Xbox, but for the entire gaming industry. Starfield is just what Xbox needs to put its logo back on the map, and gaming as a whole needs that true next-gen experience game. We need something new, we need something good, and something that pushes our current gen technology to the next level. I heard a lot of good things during this presentation, and I feel a lot better about the gameplay. Today, I want to give my impressions of the presentation, both the good and the bad. Now honestly, I would say the bad stuff I'll mention is basically just being due to having some worries and trust issues because, well, the overall state of gaming and its track record of late has not been too great when it comes to big-time games like this. Well, we don't have to wait much longer to play this game, as Starfield will be coming out on September 6th. You can buy it or download it on Game Pass. The game will be exclusive to Xbox and Windows PC since Microsoft now owns Bethesda. So, what is Starfield about? The game takes place in 2330. This is 20 years after two of the largest factions in the settled systems battled for territory in a colonial war. Those factions are called the United Colonies and the Free Star Collective. We, the players, will be assuming the role of a member in the organization called the Constellation. Now, this is basically a group of people who are considered space explorers who are trying to navigate through the aftermath of this bloody war. Now, being an open-world Bethesda game and knowing their track record, I am assuming this game will have a similar feeling to it. It's going to give off vibes of both Skyrim and Fallout. Those games can easily be compared between each other, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, as a lot of those systems worked, so, you could translate it from one game to the next. However, I do hope we get to see a fresh, modern approach to some of these systems in Starfield. Expect the main quest line to take about 30 to 40 hours to complete, and I'm sure there will be tons of other side quests and activities to complete. They keep talking about how there's 1,000 planets in the game, so a lot of exploring will be done. There will also be other factions to interact with, and other open-ended activities that players will encounter in both space and planet side. And along with a whopping 1,000 planets to explore, Todd Howard also said the game will feature over 250,000 lines of dialogue. So, Todd, I better not be hearing any NPC repeat any of the same phrases. But honestly, I do love games that allow you to have dialogue like this. I want to be able to persuade or threaten someone. I also want companion NPCs to give their thoughts and maybe throw out some hints on how to go about doing certain things in the game. The game will allow companions to have their own perspectives on things, and they can even step in and speak for you. The only thing I wonder is, will my character himself be able to speak? I want to say no because I feel like the developers would have already talked about this or shown us it, and I don't recall them showing or talking about that option at all. The game will also feature romance options, so get ready to flirt in space. I did let out a sigh of relief when I saw more of the combat during the presentation. The gameplay looks so much better, guns seem to shoot straighter, melee combat looks decent from the little we saw of it. I am just glad the animations look better, player movement seems smoother, and even the enemies move around better. I appreciate that enemies fly away when you hit their jetpacks. Both first and third person perspectives will be available. Third person combat looks cool, especially when you are hovering over enemies, firing away or dropping mines on them, as we saw one of the developers talk about and show footage of that. My final note on the combat is that the space combat looked good too. I wonder how smooth the ship controls will be, but the ship movement at least looked smooth from what I saw, so I am excited for the dogfighting in space, and there will be a ton of weapons to acquire and customize. Guns will be divided between those that fire regular bullets and those that are considered energy weapons. And we've seen some pistols, shotguns, machine guns, snipers, and as far as melee combat goes, there's supposed to be both one-handed and two-handed weapons. I wish they would have shown more and talked more about melee weapons and shown them in combat, but hopefully we'll learn more down the road. And honestly, I think it would be cool if you could customize them in like a game like Dying Light where, I would love to customize a melee weapon that I could then cut off the limbs of an enemy or electrocute them or set them on fire or something like that by putting mods on, a space bat or machete or whatever the heck you're going to be able to use. For guns, we will get the usual mods for sights, barrels, magazines, and so on. Players will spend a ton of hours completing quests and other activities. Exploration is bound to add a ton of hours too, and you know what else will add to playtime? Customization. There's a ton of customization in this game. You'll be able to customize your character in a variety of ways. There's weapon customization, ship customization, research can be done to help you unlock more options. There's also crafting. Let's take a look at the character customization. When making your character, you'll be able to choose 3 different backgrounds which give your character 3 starting skills plus a special trait that offers a gameplay advantage or narrative twist. Skills come in 5 different categories: physical, social, combat, science, and tech. It's important to select the right skills based on your gameplay style. It's similar to Skyrim where in order to level up a skill, you're going to need to use that skill. Todd Howard also said that there will be challenges that you can complete which will help you level up those skills as well. Then you have traits, which are another part of character customization. You'll be able to choose 3 of those as well. These are modifiers that can provide positive or negative effects. There's at least 16 traits that are known about so far. These traits can make certain aspects of the game tougher. They could affect the way you earn currency in the game. Traits related to factions and religions can impact the alignments of the main story, supposedly. And collecting resources will be very important because resources will help you craft, and crafting will help you improve your gear. Resources that you will need to collect include things like iron, nickel, and sealant. There's also 5 areas for researching. The 5 areas include pharmacology, food and drink, outpost development, equipment, and weaponry. Researching will help you unlock gear, enhancements, and other mods. You can improve your medical gear, weapons, resource extraction at outposts, and you can even make changes to your helmet. And we aren't done yet with customization. We can't forget about ship customization. Starfield will allow players to build their own ships the way they want. Customization affects both the performance of your ship and the look of your ship. Some of the ships shown off in the presentation included ones that look like animals, or one even looked like a giant transformer, I think Optimus Prime. Players will be able to select the paint job for the ship as well. Other customization options for ships include hull, shield, mobility, speed, and weapon damage like lasers, ballistics, and missiles. Also, I should mention that I did notice during the presentation in the ship customization menu, it looked like you can have up to 9 ships, so you will be able to have a fleet of ships that you could customize and use. Another big plus in my book. And I really do like the fact that Bethesda is putting a lot of care and focus on both the boots on the ground aspect of the game and the space aspects of the game as well. So, what bothers me about the game? Honestly, I do have more likes than dislikes so far, but here's one of the dislikes. Todd Howard said in an interview with IGN that the game will be maxed out at 30 FPS. He admits that it's for the best when it comes to the game on the console and the console performance overall. They obviously have experience with many other open world games. Now look, I want this game to launch successfully, I want it to function properly, so if keeping it at 30 FPS allows this to happen, then fine. But man, it's disappointing to have these top-of-the-line expensive consoles, and yet we can't get maxed out on graphics and performance like those that play on PC. Now, Bethesda is using a next-gen lighting system that does look great, however, I still wish the color palette was more expansive. Now, it's not as bad as Skyrim where everything was literally like brown and gray, but why don't the planets look nicer? The white interior of the ships is okay because it gives off that spaceship interior aesthetic, that space aesthetic. Like when you look at a ship from NASA, it's not blue, green, pink, and purple, it's usually white and everything is kind of looking similar and uniform in structure. But honestly, I am a bit worried that these planets will look and feel generic due to the large list of them. You know, they keep claiming that there's 1,000 of them. So I'm hoping amongst those thousands of planets, maybe some have some more greens, reds, blues, and whatnot to them. So the game has a lot of in-depth customization options, and that's great, but I also hope other elements of the game have a lot of variety in them. For example, I hope quests aren't generic and repetitive. I hope choices you make in the game truly do matter and change the story up. It will be nice to talk to friends and compare each of our journeys through the game. I want each of the factions to feel unique and make an impact on the galaxy like we saw in games like Skyrim and Fallout 4. I am also worried that the combat is just ultimately going to feel generic or feel like something we've seen before in other games. Now, it doesn't have to be evolutionary for me to enjoy it, but Bethesda, I did notice, didn't really focus a lot on the gameplay elements in terms of shooting, and again, like I said, they hardly showed anything for melee combat. And I guess it does make sense that they're more focused on the RPG aspects of the game. And again, as cool as it is, the gameplay has to feel smooth and it needs to be enjoyable if I'm supposed to drop 40, 50 plus hours in this game. My biggest fear for this game, however, is that it's going to start off as a buggy mess. I still have a lot of bad memories from Cyberpunk a couple of years ago, and I've seen way too many games fail at launch. I'm wrapping up Jedi Survivor right now, and I'm a little bit moody with that game because, that game was released back in April, and here we are in June, and I'm still encountering frame rate drops, bugs that won't allow me to complete side activities, and game crashes. Every single gamer is tired of these issues, and I can't imagine what's going to happen if Starfield falls flat on its face. So that's why, as much as I am excited to check this game out, I am still very worried. I will be hesitant until I actually sit down and play it, and hopefully it will fulfill its promises and function properly from the start. Microsoft Game Studios head Matt Booty also made a statement saying that Starfield has the fewest bugs of any Bethesda game that has ever shipped. I hope he's right. Otherwise, people will be coming after him for that comment. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, leave a like. I plan on doing a lot more coverage for this game, and I have more videos in the works for other games announced at the Xbox and Ubisoft showcases. If any of that interests you, well, subscribe for more. I can also be found on Twitter and TikTok as well at analyzethis_YT. Thanks for watching and take care.